keep continually flashing. These are the areas that were hit hardest Sunday into Monday. They got hit pretty hard again this morning, and unfortunately, that's what we expected in terms of what we were going to see if they picked up any rain, let alone some of these rainfall totals that we've seen so far up there have been upwards of 5, 6, 7, even 12 additional inches of rain, almost 2 feet in some spots. All right, so quickly, before I send it back over to Andy and Lisa, I want to talk about what we're going to expect for the rest of the afternoon. By about 1 to 2 o'clock, you can see that line starting to press on down, moving its way from around 3 to 4 down to the coast. Now, here's the good news. We always like to talk about silver linings with this. This computer model in particular updates just about each and every hour, and it's been locked in on this line most of the morning and most of the early part of the afternoon now, and that's good news. Watch what it shows as we go to tomorrow, Friday morning, and into Friday right around the morning commute. Not a whole lot of rain out there. And in fact, looks like that's the trend through the afternoon. Maybe some spotty showers at best, but certainly nothing like what we've seen out there this morning. And that is the best news of all for folks that are just desperate need of trying to dry things out, including the folks over towards Kingwood, as we said before, that dropped their kids off and can't even try to get back home because some of those roads are flooded out. And Lisa and Andy, that's only one of a number of different school districts that have had all kinds of problems this morning and into the afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. Shepherd, Willis, Huntsville,
New Waverly, and Sam Houston State canceled their classes for
That's right, they did,
in anticipation of this. Justin, thank you. You're doing a great job, by the way. I know it's been a long morning. Thanks for all the info.
Want to get you a live look now at the CenterPoint power outage tracker. We're just under 106,000 customers now currently without power across the Houston area. This is certainly something that we're going to be keeping our eye on, and certainly we're going to see these numbers change throughout the day as we continue to deal with storms producing a lot of lightning and heavy rain. On high water. This is up in the northeastern part of our area in Porter. This is courtesy of our storm tracker. This is Needham Road again in the Porter area. You can see that there are water crossing the road there and a couple of law enforcement vehicles as well there in the distance and some vehicles waiting to see if it's safe enough to cross that water. Certainly, here we go. One truck making its way across the road, which is flooded. This is just east of 69, we're told.
Yes, it is. And it's luckily, as Justin's been informing us throughout the morning, they're not anticipating any more rainfall, if I'm not mistaken. So these conditions will only improve, which is the good news.
Yeah.
So we're hearing nearby in the Kingwood area that some folks who were dropping off their kids this morning are now stuck because some of those roads are so flooded that they're impassable and they'll have to wait it out, which is what is encouraged because they want to drive through anything too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the safest thing at this point is, if you've lived here long enough, as soon as the rain stops, literally 30 minutes, maybe an hour tops, if you're in a decent drainage area, that water will go down enough that you can maybe find an alternative, right? If you know your neighborhoods, Owen and I were talking about this at 10 o'clock. If you know your neighborhood, which road
that area,
floods, right? You know which one you're like, okay, I got to avoid, Klein Road because that one always floods. It's got poor drainage or the storm drains are.
Got the right idea.
There you go. See, look at that. That's
what you need.
That's what you need if you're out there. But it's interesting too. If you look just to the right of the screen there, right on our storm tracker, on the storm tracker there, notice you see that little drainage ditch right over there, or maybe what would have served as a
looks like
ditch, doesn't it? Yeah, that's flood. Now, I always like to watch those because that's a good indicator to see because that's sort of your first line of defense, so to speak, of like what's there and what's flooding.
Yeah.
And then once those go and they can't take anymore, right? Talked about our sponge yesterday.
Right.
Then the water, the road becomes a sponge and it's just going to go everywhere. So.
Did all of this come down as you were anticipating last night? I mean, did any area get hit harder that we weren't anticipating?
Well, we were hoping that areas that got hit hard Monday morning didn't get hit hard again, and unfortunately they did. That's why we have, I want to say, more than half a dozen flash flood warnings, active ones that are out there, and it's the exact same spots. It's Lake Livingston, Trinity, Crockett, Polk County, San Jacinto, New Caney, right? Cleveland, Splendora, those areas. They just couldn't take any more rain. Unfortunately, it just came right on them. What was interesting, or what surprised us is that we thought this line that's coming through now across Greater Houston was going to come through about 7, 8 o'clock and impact a good chunk of the community. It did not, but now it's coming through. So it was just delayed about 4 or 5 hours. It eventually was going to make it through here. It just didn't necessarily in the time we.
It doesn't look like it's stalling over the city.
No. That's the good news, and that was our concern this morning when we were talking with with some of the team here, is to say if that stalled, similar to what they saw up towards Porter, we've seen that happen in the past. What's going on? During like tax day flood, for example, it stalled right over top of us.
You don't want to hear the word stall.
No, we do not. No, never.
We do have some new drone video from Drone Brothers showing just how huge of an impact the rain is having in Livingston. This was on Business 59. You can see U-Haul trucks swept away there in the video. Homes are submerged in the floodwaters. Highways and businesses are closing as conditions just make them inaccessible.
Yeah, certainly folks there need to stay off the roads, wait for the water to recede. And Justin, you said maybe in the span of 3 hours we could start to see some of that water recede? Yeah,
I think so. I think most of the flash flood warnings are anywhere from about 12:30 to 1:30 to 2 o'clock, right? And I just checked with the National Weather Service, and they've actually extended some of those times, which I would expect them to do as well, right? If they don't feel like it's draining at a point where it's safe. And that's the whole thing with a flash flood warning. It's not hey, there may be flooding. It's no, there is ongoing flooding now. And so you issue it or you extend that time because you want to let people know, hey, it's still not safe to go in this area, right? You saw TJ a second ago out at that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're just like not paying attention? I know we all say we pay attention when we drive, but we all really know sometimes, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of this out on the roads, right? And you can come right up on that. Next thing you know, you're flooded out, and then that water's, or Brittany, which she had earlier today with that car that had been popped over, right? It got caught in that floodwaters. And if you saw those 3 workers or constables or EMTs that were there, they were on a safety line. Right? So they were trying to go check to see if there was anyone in that car, but they weren't walking because that water, we've said it takes 6 inches, knock you off your feet like that, and that water was moving fast. And they would have gone under and then out into the creek at that point.
And I know the line of storms are pushing through the city right now, but you're also tracking another line of storms to the west.
Yes, out towards Brenham in particular, it looks like we've got a little boundary that's just kind of refiring. Now, I don't know if that's I would guess that it's probably just firing off of something that's left over there that didn't necessarily use up its juice, so to speak, because that may be not good for folks that are there that are under that right now, but it also means that because the storms were as intense as they were from Montgomery County, Walker County over to the northeastern part, which is really, really impacted, that may have stabilized. So I don't think those will sneak their way over to there, I guess is what I'm trying to say with that.
Okay.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, they don't need it.
Right, yeah, we'll watch it for sure. Here's the other thing. We got an enormous amount of great click-to pins that have come in, and everyone from all over the place. This is one. This is White Rock Road. That's in Conroe. So that'll give you an indication. That's flooded out. Hopefully this gentleman here is in a truck or a Jeep if he's getting that, he or she. I hate this too. I saw this. This was up into Huntsville, and that's the front door. Yep, and there's a couch that's going into the front door, right? Yeah, just that's tough to see, unfortunately. So this is from some of the flooding that they got as well. And then obviously Lake Conroe, they've told folks don't go out on the lake right now. There's a lot of submergibles and things we can't account for. That's not necessarily real safe. Look at this. This is Wildwood Shores up in Huntsville. That's
my goodness.
Right. So they picked up almost a foot of rain this morning as well. That's what Anthony and Caroline were tracking through much of the morning hours here. Is some of that heavy rain. And yet I think that's a gazebo maybe that's out there, some of those lower lying areas, but that house in the center, my guess is there's probably water coming into the front of that as well.
And that's really what we've been seeing with these storms. The heavy rain is so localized to somewhat of a smaller area.
Yeah, it is. Thankfully, yes, but no, not for the folks that are in it, as we said. That's unfortunate. Here's the other part, too, around this is in Huffman, and we saw it at Hockley and Cypress, basically, dime to skittle-size hail. So that's kind of one of the other things that we weren't even talking about. There's another shot of it right there. And then this one here, we'll talk about over in Tomball. Man, how many times have we seen this that we use the mailboxes as a gauge of like how high the water is, right? And that right there gives you a perfect indication of just what we're dealing with. So
we want to put out there, Justin, Cleveland ISD announcing they will be closed tomorrow.
They will be closed tomorrow, too. I wouldn't be shocked to see a few more of those probably follow suit with that because it's for safety reasons at this point. All right, so let's talk about what we've got out there right now. As we said a second ago, most of what we're seeing in terms of these flash floodings, these are areas that the rain has already fallen. Most of this is starting to finally get a bit of a break, but we will see these flash flood warnings probably for the next couple of hours. Here's that cluster to the west that Andy was just mentioning a second ago from 290 from Giddings out towards Brenham over to Hempstead. It's starting to break up. I don't think it's going to have too much of an impact over across parts of Walker County and Montgomery County there, but I'm going to watch it very carefully. And then the front line of this is starting to break up from Katy down towards Mission Bend over to Rosenberg. And then, of course, as you go to the leading edge of this, back off towards the southeast side as well from Mont Bellevue, Dickinson, League City, and Galveston heads up. It will be there probably within 20, 30 minutes at this point. So our high-resolution future track actually has done a pretty decent job most of the morning of picking up on where the storms are, moving them south. So I'd say by about 3, 4 o'clock, that's pressing offshore. And once it is, that should be it for the rest of the evening. Now, tomorrow morning, earlier we were talking, there was a chance that we might see a regeneration of another reload of some strong storms. But I think the majority of this will be fine as we get in towards our Friday afternoon forecast. It looks like things will be much more quiet, maybe some lightly scattered showers as we go into Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Hopefully give everybody a chance to get a bit of a break. We're going to talk more about conditions as we come up after the break, and I'll have your 10-day forecast with what is going to be a hot rest of next week's forecast. It's coming up. Stick around.
Welcome back. We continue to follow live images here as a result of the rainfall, the heavy rain, line of storms we saw overnight into the morning hours. We're looking at flooded out roads here in the Porter area. This is at Needham Road. And one car stuck there. You see, of course, authorities blocking off roads and advising all residents to not be out on the roads if they don't have to. Many of them right now impassable in certain areas, Andy.
Yeah, and this isn't far from the Kingwood area where they're tracking some very high water as well this morning near St. Martha Catholic School, just north of North Park and Woodland Hills. This is a live look now from another one of our storm trackers, Beltway 8 and 59 North. You can see the spray there coming off the vehicles on the road. Roads are slick. The rain still coming down. Storm tracker heading to the Kingwood area. Again, there is very high water in parts of Kingwood this morning near St. Martha Catholic School, just off North Park Drive in Woodland Hills. Some parents, we were told, are stranded because they were in the process of dropping their kids off at school when the water there started to rise.
Most of the activity that we've been tracking north of I-10, but as Justin mentioned before the break, there is a line of storms coming through Houston Metro as well, but they're fast moving, so nothing to worry about at this point. We'll keep you updated. We're going to pause for a break as we take a look at our tower cam, spotty lens there. We're back right after this.
You're watching KPRC2, Houston's home for news.
Andy Sirota alongside Lisa Hernandez as we start this half hour with our extended weather coverage. We've been tracking a line of storms that began dumping huge amounts of rain, over a foot of rain in the Huntsville area early this morning. The line of storms slowly pushing to the south.
Yes, so the good news is that areas that are flooded right now, and we're seeing a lot of roads that are impassable north of I-10, that's the worst of it. So that's the silver lining right now, but we're keeping an eye on conditions to keep everybody safe. We have authorities out there blocking off roadways that need to be blocked off. We do want to check in right now with meteorologist Justin Stapleton, who's been tracking all of this. He told us it was coming, and here it is, Justin.
Yeah, I know. Well, we expected a lot of this earlier, too. So, this is one of those days where, you want to talk about frustrating forecasts, just come to Houston, Texas sometimes. That's what happens. But we're at least seeing all the storms move. We'll make serious of this as well. And And in fact, I want to start with the tower cam from the KPRC2 studios, because we've got a kind of a convergence of a quick little line that's now starting to smack its way across southwest Houston here. And this is right out on the Southwest Freeway. We're at Southwest and Gessner here at the TV station, if you want to use that for reference. And it's really messy. Look at all the spray. You can see it coming off of the cars on both north and southbound lanes there. So certainly take it easy and be careful. As you might expect, the rain's got the temperatures all generally sitting in the upper 60s and low 70s. Look at Galveston still at 78, as you might expect. The rain has not made it there just yet. All right, a couple of spots we're watching very carefully. This is from our partnership over at Harris County Flood Control. This is in the last 60 minutes. We've seen some of these rainfall totals over at Hunting Bayou there. That's at I-10. About 1.5 inches almost from there over to Normandy Street, about 3/4. That's over Jackson Avenue at Little Vince Bayou. And then as you get over to Braze from Lawndale on down towards MLK Boulevard, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Now that's in the last 60 minutes. And my guess is that a good chunk of that fell within about 30 minutes. So there's probably some areas that you have to watch very carefully. And then some of the hot spots out towards the west side here too, anywhere from Buffalo Bayou over at Peak. That's out towards 99, out towards FM 1093. And then just north of there as you go towards Greenbush Road at about 1.5 inches, and that's all within 60 minutes. So we'll watch these very carefully, but this is what it looks like outside in the Storm Tracker 2 live radar right now. I'm going to kind of back things out just so you get a sense of what we're seeing. Good news is we don't have any severe weather potential, I think, for the rest of the day today. Heavy rain, and it'll be very isolated in pockets. Most of what we're seeing out there now that's still very active are all these flash flood warnings. Every single one of these red boxes are flash flood warnings that will hopefully start to expire over the next hour or so. A lot of these on the north side, parts of Montgomery County, Walker County picked up 10 to 12 inches of rain, if you can believe that. That's on top of some of the 6 to 8 to 10 inches that they picked up Sunday night into Monday morning. So we're talking in less than about 72 hours, almost 2 feet of rain in some of these locations. But we're not seeing any additional rainfall. That's the good news. But back over to the west here, we do have some storms just south of Conroe from the Woodlands over towards Hempstead out to Brenham. So 290 and Highway 6 is that interchange right there over just north of Belleville. And then as you go a little further south, this is what I said in the last 60 minutes. You can see that cluster right there. It's kind of breaking up from Sealy out towards Rosenberg, out to Fulshire, Brookshire area, Greater Katy, out towards Mission Bend, and then down to Sugarland as well. So we're getting a bit of a break. That's why we were seeing those really messy conditions right across Southwest Freeway here. It did have a severe thunderstorm warning, but notice that has broken up, thankfully. And now we're seeing some of the heaviest push its way over from Clear Lake down to Dickinson, out to Texas City, moving on down towards parts of Galveston and Bolivar Peninsula as well. And then right now it looks like in terms of any kind of severe weather potential, we had some real nasty storms there right south of Nederland towards Port Arthur. And that's all pressing out. So let me back this out and just get you a sense of what we're seeing as we go into the rest of the day today. So there's the leading edge of that line. You can see it's a real thin green line. It's right there. It's what's called the outflow boundary as that presses southward. I'm going to keep a watch on this stuff out to the west here to see if this holds together and tries to move into some of the areas that have picked up too much rain today where all those flash flood warnings are. But if you look at our high resolution future track, it's running about a half an hour, an hour behind. So I'd expect what you see here in South Harris County and in towards parts of Brazoria, Galveston, and Fort Bend County, probably within about, 12:30 now? I'd put it closer to about 2 o'clock. So I think by 4 o'clock, that's down to the coast and offshore and out of here. And once it is, we've got a much better looking forecast. Here's the good news, is that I think this is it in terms of the real heavy potential. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, we may be seeing some additional miniature flare-ups, but it's not going to be widespread. There was a chance yesterday we were talking about we may see storms from West Texas reload and come through Friday morning for 2 hits, and that would have been quite devastating, to be honest with you. But I think that this in particular high-resolution model is locked in on what we'll see. So that does include a chance to see some scattering of some, we'll call quick downpours and showers tomorrow afternoon. And look at the location of those, same spot that does not need any more rain. So that's something that we'll have to track very carefully as we get to tomorrow's forecast. But once that's through, it looks like the rest of the day for our Friday should be fine. And Saturday looks like it should be A-OK as well. So we'll certainly take that as we can. Now, obviously, some of the trouble spots out there that we're going to be watching, and all of these, I have not updated these yet today. I give you my word that these will all start to go back into major flood stage because of the rain that we've seen out there now. So we're talking about places places like, Goodrich, Maynard Creek down towards Liberty. That's where our TJ Parker's been most of the morning as well. They were looking at some flooding. This had actually been forecast, or it had crested, gone down into the moderate flood stage. Right now, they're crunching some of the new numbers. It is going to go back up into major flood stage. I expect the East Fork of the San Jacinto at New Caney to do the exact same thing down towards Humboldt. That'll be another spot that we're going to have to watch very carefully. And coming up here in a bit, I'm going to grab a couple of those gauges and just show you what the real-time conditions are right now. And then we will talk about the pivot to a much drier forecast as we get into the weekend, guys. But I tell you what, you better put your summer shorts on, because we are going to talk some hot weather in that 10-day forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Justin, thank you. Now to our Rochelle Turner, who is outside the St. Martha Catholic School there in Kingwood. Rochelle, it's been quite a morning for folks there, especially as parents were dropping their kids off to school. We can see the high water there behind you.
Yeah, Andy, it's been a big mess, but thankfully we're seeing somewhat of a break from that heavy rain here in Kingwood. As you mentioned, this is St. Martha's Catholic School. This is their parking lot, and it is pretty deep. I want to show you guys. I'm going to walk over here, and I'm going to stay on the sidewalk, because we've been out here maybe for about an hour here at this school, and we spoke to the school principal, and he told me that everybody is okay. They were able to get some of the students Papa John's for lunch, and most of the parents are now picking up their kids. But right here, this is about a foot, and we're almost at a foot of water here in this parking lot. Of course, the further you go out, the deeper it is. I'm going to try to find a safe spot to stand and see if we got a foot of water. Okay, so it's somewhat of a current in this one, but we're almost at a foot. But you can see this is where, I know it's hard to see, but this is actually where the crosswalk is if you were going to go up to the school here at St. Martha's. So everybody's okay, but since we've been out here all morning, we've been talking to people. We've been seeing people walk in the rain. We saw some roads that were impassable and cars flooded out on the roads, but everywhere we've been, people have been telling me that they're kind of used to this rain here in Kingwood, that when it rains, it pours. And we actually caught up with a man. His name's Mr. Leonard, and I want you to take a listen to some of our conversation. Tell me what you think about all this rain, this water in Kingwood.
We've had enough. I live over here off of Tree Lane, and my rain gauge this morning had about 5 inches when I checked it about 9:30. I don't know what's in it right now, but anyway, the rain came down pretty heavy at first, and then been letting off, thank God.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And anyway, I just was wondering, I'd heard that we had some serious water coming out of Ben's Branch here, and I was just wondering how the school was doing.
We'll just walk over here. So right now, guys are coming back out live to us. So I want to show you another parking lot that's part of the school. This is Ben's Branch, and it looks like a mini pond. And we actually saw a gentleman walking in these floodwaters maybe about an hour ago, and he came from this back area. He said he was okay, but he said that he's used to this, and he wanted to get some video and take some pictures of what was going on. But I mean, I'm going to be very careful, because this is this is like mush. So this is definitely, the further you go out, the deeper it's going to be. That guy that was standing out there, the water came up to his waist. So this is what it looks like right now in Kingwood. But as I mentioned, we've been talking to people all day. We haven't heard any reports of any injuries. We did see a few small trees that were down. We saw some cars that had got flooded out. They tried to drive on these roads that were just impassable, but it seemed like everybody was okay. But we're going to continue to stay out here all day. We're going to have another live report for you guys coming up at 3 o'clock. We're going to go check out some more spots along Kingwood Drive and in some of these subdivisions to check in on people to see how they're doing. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to you in the studio, Andy.
All right, Rochelle Turner, so much rain falling at once this morning, and that is the end result.
You can hear the frustration, and people like, we've had enough. We want this to be done.
We had enough.
Yes,
yeah, they had enough.
We'll see you at 3, Rochelle. Great live reporting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you and your photojournalist stay safe
see you
out
guys.
there. All right, we are tracking some high water in other parts of our area as well, especially to the northeast of Houston. This is a live look from one of our storm trackers on Needham Road. This is in the Porter area. You can see a pickup truck trying to make its way through the high water there.
Yeah, you see that car to its left with the hazards on. They're not going anywhere, but authorities urging everybody up in these affected areas, if you don't have to be out there, please do not attempt it. I believe are we going to take our Beltway 8 and 59 north of Kingwood area shot? I believe we are. We've been tracking the conditions here too with our storm tracker. This looks a lot better than what we've seen throughout the morning, Andy,
a lot
right?
better. The water receding. Now that the line of storms is pushed well to the south, it's going to give a lot of those neighborhoods that were just inundated with water a chance to dry out, hopefully, because we are, as Justin mentioned, tracking another line of storms to the west of Houston, northwest of Houston. Hopefully those won't have too much of an impact there.
Right, not expecting to be as severe as what we've seen so far. All right, KPRC2 wants to see how the weather looks on your side of town. You can share your photos and videos of the storms with us by uploading them to click2pins.com. Please do be careful as you attempt to take any videos or pictures of the conditions in your area.
All right, and as we head into break, want to get you a look at exact track radar. You can see quite a bit of lightning still being produced by those storms that are well to the south of Houston right now. You see that other line just south of Conroe that's starting to track in from the west. Justin will be back after the break. He's keeping an eye on those storms and the impact they could have in some of those communities near Conroe.
All right, welcome back. We're keeping an eye on this weather coming through here and the power outages that have been happening as a result. CenterPoint's power outages for the area at 98,000, which is a lot, but it's an improvement from earlier today where those numbers were around 106,000. So we're seeing an improvement as the day progresses here.
That certainly is good news. Something else we are keeping our eye on at this hour, another line of storms just to the south, really, Justin, of Conroe, kind of to the southwest that we've kind of seen marching eastward slowly but surely.
That whole section there, I don't want to say concerned. I don't want to kind of, poo-poo that because it's still moving through at this point.
Yeah.
But it is moving,
Good.
right? Now, there's another batch that we're also watching that's back off to the west as well, towards Brenham, out that away as you get out towards 290. None of that looks like it's too severe at this point, but it's just a line. They didn't see a whole lot of rain this morning, so you can take a pretty a decent amount of soaking of rain before it's trouble. It's really that northeast quadrant. If that northeast quadrant gets any more rain, you've seen the video. It's just, it cannot take any more rain at this point, right? Here's the other interesting thing, too. I got some great click-to-pins about this. This is over at Lake Conroe at Walden. And as we said, folks at the lake there, they've told them, you don't take the boats out because there's stuff underneath. And this is the reason why. That's a walkout pier. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's underwater there, right? So that'll just tell you the kind of water levels that are rising at this point. So the other part to the problem is that once the rain is done, the lakes are all going to have to drain a little bit, right? So those spillways are going to get real active, which is going to already compound effects of, some of the trouble that we've seen out there. Not only that, I just did a quick check of all the channel statuses on the East Fork and the West Fork of the San Jacinto and the Trinity River. New forecasts have come in. Every single one of those gauges is going to go back into major flood stage. So this is going to be a story we're going to deal with all the way through the end.
The last thing that those folks need to hear right now.
Yeah, and I knew they were going to adjust those based on today's rain, and every single one of them is going back under at this point. So, and some of those could get real high too. So
And a lot of those homes, they're built up on pilings,
stilted up, yeah.
but you can't leave and you can't get in.
Exactly, right? So if you left, like we talked to those folks the other day that just said, hey, we're getting out. Right, great, but then how long does it take before you get back in? Right. This is from Wildwood Shore. That's up at Lake North Conroe. That's just south of Huntsville there in Walker County, right? So that'll give you a sense of just. I mean, you can see the construction or the EMT guys in the back there, just kind of trying to block everybody out so you can't get in. And then of course, this is Tomball off of North Point. They've had street flooding. This is what it looks like across another area. Sarah B sent this in. And how many times have we seen this? This is over near Kingwood Park High School is where we've had folks, right?
Yes.
Like how many times have we seen this in these neighborhoods where it just starts stacking up and there's nothing you can do at that
Nowhere
point,
for
right?
it to go.
Yeah, well, thankfully, as I said, it is getting a little better, so that's good news. But if we do take a peek out to the Storm Tracker 2 live radar here, I want to give you a couple of different ideas and some sense of what we're seeing right now. So we do still have these active warnings. Most of these are flash flood warnings, or I should say all of these are flash flood warnings. Not seeing any additional rain right now across parts of Walker County, down in through parts of, Polk County, San Jacinto County. That's good. Here's that line back off to the west that we were just talking about a second ago. Some of these storms still looking like they're packing a pretty good punch, including this one just south of Brenham that's trying to slide up towards Hempstead. Let me actually put a pause on this radar so we can see what's happening within the center of the storm here in particular. I want to kind of check that out. Right now, it looks like there's a chance, maybe skittle-sized hail of that, about less than half an inch. That could be headed its way towards Chapel Hill there, about 103. So that's the only one so far that looks like it's really impressive. Hempstead's getting whacked pretty good right now with some heavier rain. Magnolia over to Tomball and between the Woodlands down towards Spring. 45 has just been a mess all day long. Up and down, north and southbound has not been good trying to get in and around the area. We've also got a little cluster, looks like some of the leftovers here across parts of the, what do we got, towards the Heights, moving up across the I-10 corridor into the North Loop, back off to the west towards Katy, still looking at some heavy rain from there to Brookshire down to Brazos County towards Fulshire. And then, of course, if you widen this out even further from Columbus out to Eagle Lake. But notice that this is a little more scattered, a little more widely scattered than certainly what we were seeing earlier. And then right now, the heaviest of the rain that we have is from Mount Bellevue over towards Winnie, sliding on down towards Galveston. So that's the good news, is that all of this is eventually going to start to wind on down. As it does, should give us a better looking forecast going into the rest of this afternoon and into this evening. We'll dry things out just a bit. And the good news also is that batch we thought might come through early Friday morning looks like that will not materialize. And so most of what we'll see is just some scattered showers through Friday afternoon and into Saturday. Once that starts to clear out, we've got a much warmer looking forecast. In fact, we'll see the rain chances go down to about 20% by Sunday, that is. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, look at that dry weather all the way through the end of the week. Well, we are going to turn up the temperatures as we'll get highs anywhere from the low to maybe mid 90s by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Certainly good for folks that are going to be cleaning up after today's and this week's storms, but we need to make sure we're ready for some good summer heat. We'll have a lot more coming up after the break. Stick around.
We are back with a live look now, courtesy of Houston TransStar. This is the East Tex Freeway at East Mount Houston. They're moving that big truck out of the way that was causing quite a bit of problems there. This is obviously the result of all the rain that we saw earlier this morning. Roads were certainly slick. They're still wet out there. Hopefully we'll see the traffic situation, the flow of traffic improve out there within the next 30 minutes or so, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, so that's been there for 3 hours.
Gosh.
That was there, yeah, at least 9 a.m. I want to say that Justine had caught, and it just, I think it slipped and it just went, and the front of it went like that, and so there's nothing you can do. You know, there's been that, there's been, you know, East Freeway had a big mess out there. North side was a mess.
The traffic wheel.
Yeah, the whole wheel has just been a mess.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it really has been. Hey, I want to show you, take this full, guys. Take Max full if you get a sec there. I want to show you so this is what I've been tracking too. So this is our flood tracker. This is with our partnership with the Harris County Flood Control. All of those gauges are real-time information, right? So I want to show you a couple of spots. Yesterday and most of the week, we were just looking at all of this over towards the east side here, from basically the east fork of the San Jacinto over at 2090 down to 1485. Those had both crested and fallen down. They have now gone back up. And the Peach Creek over at 2090, that's where TJ was, or in and around there, that is shot up this morning because of the heavy rain that's come through. And it's likely going to be in major flood stage probably for at least another 24 hours. So I think they're going to be running into all kinds of problems there if you're in and around that area towards 59. And then you see some of these other spots as well. Mill Creek over there at 1774. Birch Creek over at Riley Road, and then 3 Mile at Joseph Road. That one always floods whenever we get heavy rain coming through, and it's doing the exact same thing. And here's the I just updated these just a second ago, and this is the current stages. The Trinity River, every single one of those gauges is going to go red probably within 12 hours, right? And then the San Jacinto from Conroe, New Caney, Humble, and down to Shelton, those will all go into the red for major flood stage as well.
Wow.
So we got, it's going to be very, very
a lot to
busy
keep track of, and you know, there are so many folks living in the path of the water.
Yeah,
so
it definitely is. All right, we'll be back right after the break. Got a whole lot more, including Houston Live. I'll join you then too, coming up.
right, this is one last live look at the Storm Tracker 2 radar. At this hour, you can see the line of storms that was causing so many problems for folks up in Montgomery County, Trinity County, Walker County, now pushing well to the south of Houston. So those areas you can see north of Conroe, they're not getting any rain at this hour. Justin has been keeping an eye, though, Lisa, on that line of storms just to the southwest of Conroe. Didn't seem too worried about them.
No, he did not, thankfully, right? It's been such a busy overnight, early morning into the early afternoon now. You know, there were flash flood and severe thunderstorm warnings that were in effect until this morning, Houston area and surrounding counties. But as we've heard from Justin throughout this hour, we've seen the worst of it. Doesn't mean we're entirely out of that threat zone, but as far as precipitation, he thinks we've seen the worst of it. We are going to go from radar now to Transtar, I believe.
59 and Laura, copy. You can see the rain still coming down there.
The visibility is just, it's just a gray, yucky kind of day.
It really is.
But
quite a bit of traffic on the
Exactly.
road there, but hopefully folks are minding their P's and Q's and taking things easy out there.
Exactly. We're certainly going to continue to follow all these stories across the greater Houston area on our news at 3 and anytime at click2houston.com. That's going to do it for us.
Yes, Houston Life begins here shortly in just a couple of minutes.